Ego is the enemy. Expanded summary. Introduction. The hidden force. In the introduction, Ryan Holiday lays the foundation for his argument that ego is the enemy of personal growth, success, and fulfillment. He defines ego as the belief that we are better than others, and that our achievements define who we are. Ego doesn't just prevent success, but it blinds us to our weaknesses, makes us defensive, and pushes us to overvalue our achievements. By understanding ego's subtle influence, we can learn to sidestep its negative effects and pursue our goals with clarity and humility. Part 1. Aspire. Humility as the starting point. To achieve anything of worth, one must first acknowledge their limitations. The book illustrates how humility is a cornerstone of success. Humility doesn't mean self-deprecation. Rather, it means having the self-awareness to know where we need improvement. Holiday presents historical figures such as Theodore Roosevelt, who was humble enough to know that his youthful ambition was not enough to guarantee success. He had to learn from others, listen, and remain teachable. The first step in overcoming ego is understanding that we cannot control everything and that we must grow through external feedback. Learning through hardship, when faced with obstacles, ego wants us to quit or blame others, but true growth comes from persistence. This is exemplified in the story of William Tecumseh Sherman, a Union general during the Civil War who faced years of failure before finally leading his troops to victory. His perseverance, tempered by a lack of ego, helped him see past his and use them as stepping stones to greater achievements. Part 2. Success. The danger of success. Success, as Holiday suggests, is one of ego's most powerful tools. It's easy to let success define you, and to believe that everything you do will turn to gold because of past achievements. But success is fleeting, and ego's grip often causes us to stop working hard, to stop learning, and to assume that we can rest on our laurels. Holiday recounts the story of John D. Rockefeller, who despite success, continued to work relentlessly. He understood that ego would tell him that he had made it, but he countered it with action and discipline. Recognizing the temptation of complacency, Holiday warns that the greatest threat in the period of success is complacency. The ego convinces us that we have reached the summit, and we no longer need to prove ourselves. This is dangerous because it causes stagnation. The book draws upon examples of famous individuals like Tom Brady. His work ethic and relentless pursuit of greatness continued even after achieving extraordinary success. The ego, if left unchecked, will convince us to stop striving for excellence, even when the results of our labor speak for themselves. The importance of perspective. Ego often prevents us from seeing the bigger picture. It causes us to focus too much on our own personal narrative instead of the collective effort. By letting go of ego and focusing on the overall mission, one can become more effective in leadership roles. Holiday highlights the example of Steve Jobs and his obsessive pursuit of perfectionism, but also his ability to focus on the bigger picture of Apple's mission, innovating to change the world, rather than becoming a corporate leader fixated on power or accolades. Failure. Using failure as fuel. Failure, Holiday argues, is a powerful force for growth. When ego is at play, it resists failure because it represents a blow to our identity. Instead of seeing failure as a stepping stone to greater achievement, we let it define us. One of the key lessons in ego is that failure can be an invaluable teacher. Holiday recounts how the famous author John Keats, while struggling in poverty and illness, faced failure and rejection, but never let it define him. Keats used these failures to fuel his determination to improve and eventually achieve greatness. Responding to setbacks. In the face of failure, ego wants us to react emotionally. Instead, we must learn to detach and reflect. Holiday uses the example of how Nelson Mandela, after years of imprisonment, didn't let his suffering dictate his actions. He emerged from prison without bitterness. demonstrating how ego can cloud our judgment and lead us to make decisions that work against our long-term success. By embracing failure and learning from it, we strip ego of its power and gain control over our journey. Persistence and adaptation. Holiday emphasizes that those who persist through failure and adapt to new circumstances are the ones who ultimately succeed. He draws inspiration from the career of Michael Jordan, whose early rejection from his high school basketball team became the fuel for his legendary work ethic. Jordan's resilience was a result of his ability to transcend his ego, which might have caused him to give up after such a setback. Part 4. The Journey. Overcoming ego's desire for instant gratification. Ego often tempts us to seek instant success and validation, but true achievement requires patience and long-term commitment. In this section, Holiday highlights the importance of focusing on the process rather than the outcome. Whether in business, sports, or the arts, the road to mastery is long and filled with setbacks. The key is to fall in love with the process rather than chasing after external recognition. The role of discipline and consistency. Ego thrives when we become distracted by external accolades and praise. However, the true achievers are those who continue their work without regard for external validation. Holiday emphasizes the importance of discipline, which requires a focus on the internal rather than the external. By building good habits and adhering to consistent routines, individuals can protect themselves from the distractions that come with ego. Mastery is a lifelong journey. In the final chapters, Holiday encourages readers to focus on mastering their craft, regardless of whether or not they achieve fame. He discusses how the path to mastery is a lifelong process that requires continual learning and adaptation. Whether one is an artist, entrepreneur, or athlete, the process of self-improvement never ends. The ego is the enemy that tries to stop us from continuing on this journey, but by learning to manage our ego, we can make sustained progress toward mastery. Conclusion. Ego's final defeat. In his concluding remarks, Holiday reflects on the battle against ego as an ongoing process. Ego's defeat isn't an event, but a continual act of self-awareness and humility. The ultimate victory lies in overcoming the ego's desire for control, recognition, and dominance. By choosing to live a life of purpose, humility, and discipline, we create space for true success that is not defined by external accolades, but by the fulfillment of doing meaningful work. Key takeaways. Recognize the ego's influence. The first step in overcoming ego is recognizing its presence in our thoughts and actions. Humility is essential. Success requires a humble attitude that allows us to learn from others and accept criticism. Failure is part of the journey. Rather than allowing failure to damage our sense of self, we should use it as an opportunity to grow and improve. Commit to the process. Achieving success is not about the end goal, but about consistent effort and a focus on the process. Self-reflection is vital. Regularly examining our actions and motivations, driving our decisions. This version should meet your rakes.